Good morning, everyone, and welcome to yet another week with a live session with 𝐀𝐝𝐬𝐧 Academy. Today, this is Anne with you, and I'll be dealing with. We will be going forward with a listening Acuity live, right? Like as usually we do on every Tuesdays, we have got listening Acuity live, wherein we take exercises from different listening test papers. Right now I'm dealing with the Cambridge material. So, and every day we deal with different sections of questions, right? Questions which are different from section 1 to section 4. Today also we are going to follow the same process or the method. However, every day, like we deal with different kinds of questions, it makes it comes somewhere, makes you aware with the different forms of questions which come in listening, and at the same time maybe get used to some language, right? When you listen to an audio, to an extent makes you comprehend the language along with the questions which are given to you. So in a way it is practice a session for you. So that is how you do your practice sessions, right? You take materials, you take content, you practice accordingly, then evaluate yourself or let somebody evaluate you for either of the modules, right? So today also we are going to follow the same method. Before we go into the questions, we'll listen to our audio clip which will be played. The questions I usually take are from a particular section, 10 questions, like there are 10 questions in each section. So each section I just play the audio at a stretch. 10 questions will be there. You will get a break in the audio piece will let you know when the particular section is going to start. At the same time, the questions are also displayed on the screen, so you can solve the questions along with the audio, which is the correct method to go for, right? So before the questions come in front of you as a discussion part, we will listen to the audio clip first along with the questions, right? And then we will come back to the question sheet and the audio script, and at the same time we'll discuss each answer for every question, right? So let's go to the audio clip.
Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear a seminar with Dr. Martin Merriweather of the Antarctic Centre in Christchurch, New Zealand. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
We're pleased to welcome Dr. Martin Merriweather of the Antarctic Centre in Christchurch, New Zealand, who has come along to talk to us today about the role of the centre and the Antarctic Treaty. Now, my first question is about the choice of location for the centre. Why Christchurch? Was it because of the climate?
Well, actually, New Zealand is the second closest country to Antarctica, and Christchurch is often used on Antarctic expeditions.
Right, so it's because of where we are.
And Christchurch is often used on Antarctic expeditions.
Right, so it's because of where we are, coupled with our historical role. So tell us, what is the main purpose of the centre?
Oh, well, we have two complementary roles. One is as a scientific base for expeditions and research, and the other is as an information centre.
Tell us something about the role as a scientific base.
Well, we're able to provide information about what scientists should take with them to the South Pole. For example, the centre contains a clothing warehouse where expeditions are supplied with suitable clothing for the extreme conditions.
I suppose you need a bit more than your normal winter coat.
Yes, exactly. And then there's also the specialist library and mapping services.
Right. And which countries are actually located at the centre?
Well, the centre houses research programs for New Zealand, for the United States, as well as for Italy. There's even a US post office here.
Really? And what does the Visitors Centre offer?
Well, since very few people will ever experience the Antarctic firsthand, the Visitors Centre aims to recreate the atmosphere of Antarctica. There's a mock campsite where you can see inside an Antarctic tent and imagine yourself sleeping there. And the centre also acts as a showcase for the unique international cooperation which exists in Antarctica today.
What is it actually like at the South Pole? I know you've been there on a number of occasions.
Yes, I have, and each time I'm struck by the awesome beauty of the place. It's magnificent, but you can really only visit it in the summer months.
October to March.
Yes, because it's completely dark for 4 months of the year. And, in addition, it has to be the coldest place on Earth.
Colder than the North Pole? Why is that?
Well, unlike the North Pole, which is Antarctica, is a landmass shaped like a dome, with the result that the winds blow down the slopes at speeds of up to 150 kilometres an hour. And that's what makes it so cold.
Oh.
And one other interesting thing is that Antarctica is the driest continent on Earth, surprisingly, and so you have to drink large amounts of water when you're there.
How old is Antarctica?
Oh, we're pretty sure it was part of a larger landmass, but it broke away from the rest of the continent 170 million years ago.
How can you be certain of this?
Because fossils and rocks have been discovered in Antarctica, which are the same as those found in places such as Africa and Australia.
Amazing. To think that it was once attached to Africa.
Before you hear the rest of the interview, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Now, let's just have a look at the Antarctic Treaty. How far back does the idea of an international treaty go?
Well, as far back as the 19th century, when 11 nations organised an international event.
When was that exactly?
In 1870, and it was called the Polar Research Meeting. And then, not long after that, they organised something called the First International Polar Year.
And that took place when exactly?
Over 2 years, from 1882 to the 1950s, that the idea of an international treaty was proposed. And in 1959, the treaty was actually signed.
What do you see as the main achievements of the treaty?
Well, firstly, it means that the continent is reserved for peaceful use.
That's Article 1, isn't it?
Yes.
That's important, since the territory belongs to everyone.
Yes, but not as important as Article 5, which prohibits any nuclear explosions or waste disposal.
Which is marvellous. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to stop there because I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thanks for coming along today and telling us all about the centre and its work.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, so that was the audio clip which we all heard now, and along with the questions from, if you have listened to the audio script, it was a question from section 3, that is questions 21 to 30. 10 questions, right? The questions actually were divided into 3 parts, 3 different types of questions. 21 to 26, it was actually a multiple choice question, that is single answer. And then the second one was a table completion kind of question, 2 blanks, 27 and 28. And then 29 to 30, that is again was a multiple choice, multiple answers, right? 2 answers. So that was 21 to 30 questions. Now, since we have already gone through the audio, now let's go through the questions, right? And we'll discuss each and get it evaluated with the correct answers with the help of the transcript, right? Okay, so let's see the questions 21 to 26, that is section 3, questions 21 to 26. Choose the correct answers A, B or C. So you have to choose either one. It's from 21 to 26, the questions have all got 3 options. The statement is given below, and then 3 options are there, A, B and C, and you have to choose only one. These are multiple choice single answers. So let's take the first one. The statement says, the Antarctic Center, which is again a noun, so it's a keyword for you. You have to listen to that particular word in the audio piece. The Antarctic Center was established in Christchurch. Again, there's a noun. There's a name of a place, Christchurch, because. So established means you can say synonymous to formed. Okay, when it was formed. Established means created or came into existence. That is the meaning of established. So Antarctic Center was actually established in a place called Christchurch because, and that's a reason why this thing was established or formed in this place. What is the reason? It can be either New Zealand is a member of the Antarctic Treaty, or Christchurch is geographically well positioned, or the climate of Christchurch. So all these 3 options have particular keywords. Like the first one says, because New Zealand was a member of the member, they were actually included in the Antarctic Treaty. Christchurch is geographically well positioned, so that is giving you a position of where this place is located. That is the location of the place where it was located. Third one is the climate. So these are 3 things which you can note as keywords before you go to the audio script. Anyways, when you get that 30 seconds, you have a look at the questions. When you look at the questions in that 30 seconds, you have to take advantage of that seconds by doing all such things like noting down the keywords, which will definitely help you to get the answers quickly and accurately. Because if you're able to track those keywords in the audio clip, when you listen to it, if you're focused enough, then there won't be doubt that your answers will be correct. Right? So let's go to the audio script and look at the answer for the question 1. Question 21. So now it was actually an interview, which was, because being a section 1, it was a conversation which was going on. So let's see what the interviewer starts with. The lady, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Martin Merriweather of the Antarctic Center in Christchurch. Now, Christchurch has been mentioned here when she says in New Zealand, who has come along to talk to us today about the role of the center and the Antarctic Treaty. So we are looking something connected to Antarctic Treaty. Now my first question is about the choice of location. So now we have a word called location, and in our options we have something like that. For the center, why Christchurch? Why Christchurch? Was it because of the climate? Now here you can see a question has been asked directly, was it because of the climate, but the reply has not yet come. So we need to get a confirmation whether that is a yes or a no. Now we'll come to the reply of the doctor, the person. Well, actually, New Zealand is the second closest country to Antarctica, right? So here they're talking about New Zealand is the second closest country to Antarctica, and Christchurch is often used on Antarctic expeditions, right? So in New Zealand, Christchurch is a place in New Zealand. So they are telling it is quite near to Antarctica. This country is quite near to second closest near to Antarctica, and this place Christchurch is often used for Antarctic expeditions, right? So it's because of where we are. Now, what do you mean by where we are, right? Where we are right now, if I'm telling that right now I am at XYZ location, means I am giving my position where I am located right now. I'm standing or staying right now. So that means the reason why Christchurch was selected for this treaty was because where it is actually positioned, located or placed. So that is the reason, coupled with our historical role. After that, it is followed by another factor that it had caused historical role. So tell us what is then that's the next thing. So there are 2 options which are given here. But when you look at our question options, you can see New Zealand is a member of the Antarctic Treaty, right? Christchurch is geographically well positioned. Climate of Christchurch is suitable. She asked a question. The reply did not come for that. The reply was that she actually says that it is because of where we are. That means where Christchurch is actually geographical, is actually well positioned. It is quite near to the Antarctica. That's why that place is chosen as a place for expeditions, center for expeditions, right? So B is the correct answer for question 21, right? Going forward, the next question. One role of the Antarctic Center is to, one role, that means what does it do, right? What is actually the work done? One role of the Antarctic Center is to do what? Provide expeditions with suitable equipment, provide researchers with financial assistance, ensure that research is internationally relevant, right? So there are three things given here, and out of this, one thing is what the center does. Okay, first is either they provide expeditions with suitable equipment, or they provide researchers with financial assistance, or they ensure that the research is internationally relevant, right? Relevant means it's actually to be believed or trustworthy, right? Or it's important. And then comes financial assistance, is monetary again. Expeditions with suitable equipments, that means you're providing something for your expeditions, whatever is required, right? Let's see the script. It says we are till, okay, so tell us what is the main purpose of the center. So what does the purpose do? What is the role? Well, we have two complementary roles. One is as a scientific base for expeditions and research, that is the first thing, and the other is an information center. So they are a place where people come for their expeditions and research, scientific. Then other is they provide informations. Two things. Tell us something about the role as a scientific base. So what do you do on the basis of scientific base to help with science, right? We are able to provide information about what scientists should take. Now here it's given we are able to provide information. That is one thing. Then she says about what? About scientists should take with them to the South Pole. About what scientists should take with them to the South Pole. Example, the center contains a clothing warehouse where expeditions are supplied in with suitable clothing for the extreme conditions. Right? So now here they are telling specifically about the scientific base, and then there is one sentence as a beginning, we are providing information. That means here we have an option actually. When you look at the options, provide expeditions with suitable equipment, provide researchers with financial assistance, ensure that research is internationally relevant. Now here when you look at the options, you can say that first one, where they provide expeditions with suitable equipment. There's nothing about the financial assistance thing, and there's nothing that says that the research is internationally done or not. So here, when you look at the paragraph, when you listen to the audio script, you can say scientists should take. Okay, that means what is required for their particular expedition, right? Warehouse where expeditions are supplied with suitable clothing for the extreme conditions. One example they have given, right? One example of what they would require when they are going to the South Pole. So that's why the option 1, wherein it says that what the scientists require, what all equipments they need for the expeditions are what we do that is our main role on scientific base. Okay, fine. So that is the answer for question number 22, right? That is option A. Okay, now going forward with the third one, the purpose of the visitor center is to do what? Now the purpose of what? The visitor center. Now we are looking for the information about visitor center. What is it built for? One is providing accommodation, right? Housing, run training sessions. Okay, that means they are conducting trainings. Show people that what Antarctica is like. That means they are giving a vision of what Antarctica looks like. That is the 3 options which they have given. The role of visiting center. Now let's go forward because we are dealt with. Okay, I suppose you need a bit more than your normal winter coat. Yes, exactly. And there's also the specialist library and mapping services, right? Right. And which countries, now the interviewer is asking, right, interviewer, right, and which countries are actually located at the center? Okay, location at the center. Well, the center houses, now we are looking for the center houses research programs. From where? From New Zealand, for United States, as well as for Italy. So there are 3 countries which I mentioned: New Zealand, US and Italy. There's even a US post office, right, at the American Air Force base here. Really? And what does a visitor center offer? So now that is where you have to go for. We have a keyword called visitor center. What is the role? What are they offering you? Well, since very few people will ever experience the Antarctic. Now we had seen 3 country names, right, before that. After that they're telling, well, since very few people will ever experience the Antarctic first hand, so the visitor center aims to recreate the atmosphere of Antarctica. So when the people come from these countries, that is New Zealand, US and Italy, they have their research programs there. They have the center houses in the visitor center, right? These are the visitors. So when they come there, what does the center provide for them? The center actually, they do is what? These people, it is very less, or it is very rare that people get a chance to visit this Antarctica. So when the visitor center is able to actually show these people actually how Antarctica looks. The word recreate. When do you use the word recreate? Recreate means something which is there and we are again building up, or maybe it was destroyed and we are recreating it, right? So Antarctica, if the people are not able to view it as it is, the center aims to recreate the atmosphere of Antarctica over there for the visitors. That is what the purpose of the visitor center is, right? So the option which says here that show the people what Antarctica looks like, that means here you are recreating Antarctica for them, right? So that's why the option C is the correct option for question number 23. Going forward, Dr. Meriwether says that Antarctica is. So maybe it's a characteristic about that particular place. Maybe what does it look like, or what it feels like, or whatever. So she says that, Dr. Meriwether says that Antarctica is unlike any other country, right? That means it's very particular or very unique, extremely beautiful. It is very good looking. Extremely beautiful. Too cold for tourists, right? That means it is too cold there. When tourists come there, it's extremely cold to visit that country, right? So now let's see what the option says, the script says. There's a mock camp site where you can see inside an Antarctic tent and imagine yourself sleeping there. And the center also acts as a showcase for unique international cooperation which exists in Antarctica only. So that was the part where they say they're recreating it. What is it actually like to be at the South Pole? I know you have been there on a number of occasions. Yes, I have. So now she's asking what it is actually like in that place. What is exactly there? Because you have been there. The doctor says, yes, I have. And each time I'm struck. Yes, I have. And each time I am struck by the awesome beauty of the place. It's magnificent, but you can really only visit it in the summer months, right? Interviewer says October to March. Yes, because it's completely dark for 4 months of the year, right? Then in addition, it has to be the coldest place on the earth, right? Colder than the North Pole. Okay, so now coldest place on the earth. So when she's asking him about what does it look like, that place, South Pole looks like, Antarctica looks like, he says that first thing he says is, I'm struck by the awesome beauty of that particular place. Magnificent is again synonymous to spectacular or extremely beautiful, right? That is the first thing. And then he says something, condition maybe, or maybe something as a warning, that you can only visit there during the summers, because that is October to March, because the other time it's completely dark for 4 months of the year, right? And it's the coldest place on the earth. It is the most coldest place on the earth. That's 2 things here he's telling. One, it is very beautiful. Secondly, he says it should be visited during the month of October to March. And thirdly, he says it is it is a extremely coldest place on this planet Earth, right? So that is what 3 informations. When she asks how it is like, he says. When you go to the options, you can see the question was Antarctica is unlike any other country, right? That is one option. That is unique, extremely beautiful, too cold for tourists. Now out of these 3 options, the most relevant one for this particular is extremely beautiful because he specifically says that it is awesome, it is magnificent when it comes to its beauty, right? He doesn't mention anywhere that it's unique to other countries, but definitely he says it's the most coldest of all the parts in the world, of all the parts, right? He never says it is cold for tourists. He specifically says it's cold country, the coldest. So the most relevant one here would be extremely beautiful, which is option B. Okay, going forward, 25. According to Dr. Meriwether, Antarctica is very cold because, now previously we heard that he says it is one of the coldest parts of the world. Now why it is cold? Okay, the reason for why Antarctica is so cold, because it can be the shape of the shape of the continent. It is surrounded by a frozen sea. It is extremely dry continent. So you can listen to the word shape, something surrounded by a frozen sea. It is surrounded by a frozen sea. It's extremely dry continent. So either of one of the reasons is why it is very cold in Antarctica. So let's go to the script. It is the coldest place on the earth. Colder than the North Pole? Why is that? She's asking. Why is it the coldest place? Well, unlike the North Pole, which is actually a frozen sea, unlike the North Pole, it says, which is actually a frozen sea, unlike means something not like the same. Antarctica is a landmass shaped like a dome, with the result that the winds blow down the slopes. Now you can see it is shaped like a dome. It is telling about the shape of that particular place, the land, which is the result that the wind blows down the slopes at speeds of 150 km/h, and that's what makes it cold, right? So because of the shape of that particular place, which looks like a dome, the wind blows down the slopes up to a speed of 150 km, and that is what makes that place very cold. Not because it is frozen, surrounded by a frozen sea, because the word unlike means it is not like that North Pole, right? And another interesting thing is that Antarctica is the driest continent on the earth. And he says, and that means some additional information he is telling, that one more interesting thing he is telling. This is not one of the reasons why it is cold. He's telling one more interesting thing about this place is that it is one of the driest continents on the earth, surprisingly, and so you have to drink large amounts of water when you are there. So that three things which are mentioned in this one specific part of the audio, wherein first he says that it is not like North Pole, it is not surrounded by the frozen sea. Secondly, it says about the shape of that particular place, which looks like a dome, and because of the shape, the wind blows at the speed of 150 km/h, and that is why it is cold. And then thirdly, one more interesting thing, that it is the driest place on the earth. It is one of the driest places on the planet Earth. When you look at the options, you can see there you have got all the three given in that, right? First, the shape of the continent. It is surrounded by a frozen sea, which is no. Extremely dry. It's an interesting thing. It is a characteristic which he has mentioned, but it is not one of the reasons why it is cold, right? The reasons why it is cold is because of the shape, which is like a dome, and because of which the speed of the wind is 150 km/h, and that is why it's very cold, right? So that is the answer for 25. The last one, Dr. Meriwether thinks Antarctica was part of another continent because. So now this person who is talking, he says that it's things. It's kind of an assumption, not an assumption. He kind of believes that Antarctica was part of another continent because. So it was a part of another continent because, first, he has done his own research in the area. There is geological evidence of this. There's a proof. It is very close to South America. So either first reason why he believes so is because he has done his own research on this particular area, Antarctica. Secondly, there is evidence or proof that it is a part of, maybe this is a recording or something recorded somewhere. Thirdly, it is because it is close to South America, right? So let's go to the audio script which says the answer. Okay, so it says, how old is Antarctica? Now they are asking how old Antarctica is when it was actually discovered or formed. We are pretty sure we're pretty sure it was part of a larger landmass. It was part. That means it was a part of something else. It was not an individual thing. It was actually a part of something which was larger landmass, but it broke away from the rest of the continent 170 million years ago. So it broke away from it, and now it is a particular individual mass. But before that, it was a part of a larger mass. How can you be certain of this? Certain means how can you be sure about this? She's asking. What makes you say that? How can you prove it? Or how are you sure about it? What's the surety about it? The doctor says, because fossils and rocks have been discovered in Antarctica which are the same as those found in places such as Africa and Australia. Amazing to think that it was once attached to Africa. So fossils are something. What do you mean? Because the moment you hear the word fossils are the dead remains. Okay, we all know fossil fuels, we have heard the word. The word fossil means the dead remains which have already passed by, and the remains which we find, right? So the fossils of what? Fossils and rocks have been discovered in Antarctica which are the same. In Antarctica they were discovered and they were found in places such as Africa and Australia. Okay, so maybe it was a part of Africa or Australia, and then it got broke away from it and became an individual part, right? Individual landmass. So that's why the option here we have is similar to something like this, which says he has done own research, not mentioned. It is very close to South America, not mentioned, but yes, there is geological evidence, there is proof, okay, that it was a part of some other landmass. That's why the option for 26 is correct. Option is B, right? So that's how you'll comprehend the questions, and then when you listen to the audio, that is how you'll get the answers. So I hope you're clear when it comes to this multiple choice single answers, right? Now let's go to the second set of questions, which is a table completion. Complete the table below, and it has got an instruction: write one word or two numbers for each answer. So you have to write either one word and or two numbers. So your answers can be in that manner only. Either you can write in one word and two numbers, only two numbers, or just one word. So that is how you write the answers, right? So let's see what is the type. When I previously in one of the sessions I had mentioned that when you're solving a table, you have to look at the title of the table, right? Because that is kind of a keyword, right? Because that the moment that is mentioned in the audio piece, you will be aware, you are aware that okay, this is where my answers will be there. So here the title of the table is Antarctic Treaty. So we are discussing Antarctic Treaty. The subtitles also date and event. Dates are always numbers, right? So there are two things. There are two columns actually wherein they have mentioned a few dates and some events which happened on that particular date. One date is empty, 27, and one column for event is empty. One blank is there for events, right? So something 1959 which happened, Antarctic Treaty was dash, something will be there, and one date which is blank. On that particular date, that is two blanks are there, so it is from and to, definitely. So event is first international polar year. That is what happened there. So first international polar year is another keyword, and 1959 is something which you have to note, because 1959, what happened in 1959, that blank you have to fill for 28. Okay, so let's go to the script. We are looking for what? Antarctic, some characteristics on the date and events happened in the Antarctic Treaty. So it starts from here where the interviewer asks. Now let's just have a look at the Antarctic Treaty. So yes, that we are going for that. The treaty. Treaty means something which is signed as a kind of rule, mutual understanding, right? Now let's have a look at the Antarctic Treaty. How far back does the idea of an international treaty go? Answer, the reply from the doctor is, well, as far as back as the 19th century. It was formed in 19th century when 11 nations organized an international event. When was that exactly? So we are looking for dates, right? When was that exactly? In 1870, and it is called the Polar Research Meeting. right? You can see in your table there is a date called 1870, and next to it it is given polar research meeting. So that is already filled, right? What happened in 1870. Going back to the so 1870 is covered again, right? So next, and then not long after that, they organized something called the first International Polar Year. So now that is what you're looking for, when this event happened. That is the first International Polar Year. And that took place when exactly? When? That means they are asking about the period. When? Over 2 years. Okay, it was exactly happened for over 2 years. That is from when? 1882 to 1883. Right? Now, whenever there will be a table or a blank which has got to be filled with a number, it won't be that easy for you. You will have a lot of choices when it comes to numbers, and you have to choose a correct one, right? So, but this you can keep in your backup, wherein it says it took over 2 years, from 1882 to 1883. After that, they are giving some more information. So this thing happened when you go to your blank of 27, I guess. Yes, it is the answer which you'll write here will be 1882 to 1883. Okay, this will be your answer which you will write here. Okay, next one, 1957 is already filled. You have got a date called 1959, year 1959. Something happened in that year was Antarctic Treaty was dash. So what was done with the Antarctic Treaty in 1959? The key word is 1959 year. So when you read forward, or when you listen to it, when you're listening to the audio, you can hear, but it wasn't until the 1950s, we're specifically looking for 59, which is a part of 1950s, that the idea of an international treaty was proposed. And in 1959, the treaty was actually signed. So what happened in 1959 was the treaty was actually signed. Okay, that is what they are mentioned here. So when you come to that particular table blank, you can see that it is mentioned treaty was signed. That is what happened in 1959. Okay, so that completes the table. Now coming to your questions 29 to 30, which is again a multiple choice, multiple answers. You have to choose 2 letters from A to E. In between A to E, there are 2 options which you have to choose. Why? Because there are 2 achievements. Which 2 achievements of the Antarctic Treaty are mentioned by the speakers? So there are 2 achievements or 2 things they have actually achieved, or that is kind of an achievement they have done, which we have to mention out of these options. No military use, animals protected, historic sites preserved, no nuclear testing, or fishing rights protected. So let's go to the script, the end part of the audio which speaks about it. What do you see as the main achievements of the treaty? Now the word are exactly given the same. What do they achieve? Well, firstly, it means that the continent is reserved for peaceful use. First thing, it means continent is reserved for peaceful use. That's Article 1, isn't it? Yes. That's important since the territory belongs to everyone. Yes, that's important because territory belongs to everyone. So it is reserved for peaceful use. That means everybody can use it very peacefully. There is no chaos, or there is no like somebody is not going to be dominating the particular continent, right? So that means it belongs to everyone. So let's see if anything is matching this particular options when it comes to the options. Right. The first option says no military use, animals protected, historic sites preserved, no nuclear testing, fishing rights. No, there was a word there, peaceful use. So when there is peace, there is no war, everything is quite good. Military, the word military comes when there is a war or when there is a dispute going on between countries, right? So the role of military, the military cannot come there because it's very peaceful there, right? So that will be the first thing which the Antarctic Treaty is going to achieve when the people come in that particular, anybody who wants to come in that particular continent, right? Now let's go to the next one because we have to make 2 achievements. That's Article 1. That's importance belongs to everyone. Yes, but not as important as Article 5. Now there is one more thing which they have mentioned, one more rule, which prohibits any nuclear explosions or waste disposal. Prohibits means which actually it's ruled out. You cannot. When you say prohibited area means you cannot enter that area. That means not allowed. Okay, that not permitted. That is not permitting is prohibited. So which prohibits any nuclear explosion or waste disposal. That is what is the second thing which they have mentioned in Article 5. That is one of the achievements of the treaty. The treaty says so. So when you go to the options, you can say we have something like animals protected, nothing, historic sites, nothing, no nuclear testing. It's clearly mentioned there. There won't be no nuclear power testing, right? That's why the option 2 will be D. So these are two achievements of the Antarctic Treaty as per the audio script. Okay, so that is we have to choose only 2, which is mentioned over there, which is marvelous. Well, I'm afraid we are going to have to stop there because I'm afraid we have run out of time. Thanks for coming along today and telling us about the center and its work. That's the closing of the audio, right? After that, you'll get the time to check the answers. So that were the answers for the section 3 questions from 21 to 30, multiple choice, single answer, table completion, and multiple choice. One of the multiple choice, multiple answers. So I think you are clear about the things which we have done today, and you were clear with the audio also. So I think you can keep on practicing in this manner when it comes to listening as well as the other modules also. Please do not ignore listening. You need to be practicing on daily basis, at least some time for listening. Maybe you may not give that much time as writing and speaking for sure, but definitely listening also has to be practiced because, like I say, it's accented videos which you have to get used to it. So we will end it here today. We'll connect next week again with another set of questions for practice. Till then, you all have a great time and have a nice day. Bye.